I told you that one of the most powerful cars of the 1960s wasn't quite a sports car and wasn't exactly a muscle car either? It was British-built, had a massive Chrysler V8 under the hood, and even offered all-wheel drive. Today, we're diving into the story of the Jensen Interceptor, a car that's flown under the radar for years but deserves a lot more recognition. Stick around as we reveal why this uniquely powerful car and its all-wheel drive sibling, the Jensen FF, are hidden gems in automotive history. Hi everyone, and welcome back to Rare Cars Revival. This is the channel where we uncover stories of the world's most iconic and rare cars. If you're a fan of short documentaries on cars like the L88 Corvette and the ZL1 Camaro, hit that subscribe button because we bring new videos to you every week. Now, let's get into the intriguing history of the Jensen Interceptor. While we'll mainly be covering the model produced from 1966 to 1976, a quick backstory will help explain why this car is so fascinating. Alan and Richard Jensen, the founders of Jensen Motors, were British coach builders in the late 1930s. They established their niche by fitting Ford flathead V8s into their cars, a rare move in England at the time. They produced a handful of cars before World War II, but production halted as resources were diverted for the war effort. Fast forward to post-war England, and the Jensens were back, now with a new model called the Interceptor, introduced in 1949. While this wasn't the iconic Interceptor we're discussing today, it's worth noting that the 1949 model laid the groundwork. This earlier Interceptor had a less-than memorable design, but by 1955, Jensen made a comeback with the Jensen 541, a more traditional British sports car. However, everything changed in 1962 with the introduction of the Jensen CV8. The CV8 was a game-changer, featuring a Chrysler 383 cubic inch V8 that more than doubled the horsepower of the 541. The CV8's looks were divisive, earning it the nickname the Angry Mosquito. And by the early 1960s, Jensen was struggling financially. This downturn led to Alan and Richard Jensen leaving the company, which soon found itself under the direction of Norwegian-American businessman Kjell Cavalli, a prominent car importer at the time. Imagine a car that blended Italian design, American muscle, and British craftsmanship, and yet still remains one of the most underappreciated performance cars of its time. The Jensen Interceptor was that car. So let's jump back to 1966, when Jensen launched a new era with the Interceptor, taking an unconventional route that set it apart from its British competitors. After Norwegian-American businessman Kjell Cavalli stepped in, the rebirth of Jensen brought us the 1966 Interceptor, a stunning departure from the company's previous models. Designed by Italian firm Touring and crafted by Italian coach builder Vignale, this new Interceptor had a more elegant and powerful aesthetic than the quirky CV8. And rather than fitting a typically British inline-4 or inline-6, Jensen took a bold step and sourced the potent Chrysler 383 cubic inch V8 from the United States. Producing 325 horsepower in the Interceptor's first model year, this engine brought an exhilarating 0 to 60 miles per hour in around 7 seconds and a top speed of 133 miles per hour, though fuel economy hovered around 13 miles per gallon. The Interceptor was available with Chrysler's 727 3-speed automatic transmission, while an ultra-rare 4-speed manual option was produced in only about 24 cars. You'd be more likely to spot a Ferrari 250 GTO on the road than a 4-speed Interceptor. Most models were rear-wheel drive, but Jensen introduced an all-wheel drive version we'll talk about shortly. The Interceptor was no lightweight sports car. At 4,000 pounds, it was more of a grand tourer than a nimble British roadster like the Austin Healey. The roomy, leather-clad interior and hatchback design made it a true 2+2 with ample storage, but Jensen wasn't content to rest on that initial success. With each new iteration, dubbed Mark I, Mark II, and Mark III, the Interceptor evolved in style and power. Production of the Mark I ended in 1969, followed by the Mark II, which carried the same 383 V8 but featured upgraded brakes, a facelift front end, and some interior refinements. But the Mark III, launched in 1971, was where things really started to get interesting. By this time, the global fuel crisis was making high-horsepower engines a rarity, and Jensen faced a significant power drop in the newer 383s, which now delivered just 250 horsepower, a letdown for a 4,000-pound car. To remedy this, Jensen began fitting the Interceptor with Chrysler's larger 440 cubic inch big block V8. Two variations emerged: the base 305 horsepower model with a 4-barrel carburetor and the 330 horsepower 6-pack model, featuring 3 2-barrel carburetors, nicknamed the Jensen SP. However, this 6-pack option was only available for 1971, as Chrysler soon retired the setup entirely. Imagine a British Grand Tourer with Italian styling, American V8 power, and an all-wheel drive system, a rare marvel decades ahead of its time. Welcome to the world of the Jensen Interceptor and its groundbreaking sibling, the Jensen FF. Let's dive into the final chapter of this unique car's story. In 1974, Jensen expanded the Interceptor lineup by offering a convertible, though only around 300 were made. They also introduced a unique coupe in 1975-76 that, unlike the standard Interceptor, didn't have a hatch, giving it a sleek, sloped-back look that puzzled many. But the most ambitious version was the Jensen FF, or Ferguson Formula, an all-wheel drive marvel released early in the Interceptor's production run in 1967 and offered until 1971. What set the FF apart was its groundbreaking all-wheel drive system, making it one of the first Grand Tours with such a setup. In addition to the FF's unique drivetrain, it was about 4 inches longer than the standard Interceptor and easily recognized by its double front fender vents. It also featured a Dunlop Maxarette anti-lock braking system, which was extraordinarily advanced for the late 1960s. However, the cost proved to be a major obstacle. A base Interceptor started at just over $8,000 in 1967, while the FF's additional tech pushed its price to $12,000, equivalent to nearly 3 base model Corvettes or even a Ferrari 365 GTB/4 Daytona. Ultimately, high costs, the fuel crisis, economic downturns, and internal issues led Jensen to close its doors in 1976. A new company later attempted to revive the Interceptor with a Series 4 model featuring a Chrysler 360 cubic inch V8, but it also failed to capture the market, and by the 1990s, Jensen's original legacy had ended. In total, Jensen produced 7,475 Interceptors, from Series 1 to Series 4. Here's the breakdown. Mark I, 1,024. Mark II, 1,128. Mark III, 4,255. Jensen SPs, 6-packs, 232. Convertibles, 456. Coupes, 46. Mark I Jensen FFs, 195. Mark II Jensen FFs, 110. Mark III Jensen FFs, 15. Series 4s, 14. The Jensen Interceptor and FF were never the fastest or the most agile, but they represented something unique and unyielding, a fusion of different car cultures and forward-thinking technology. For enthusiasts like us, it's impossible not to appreciate the Interceptor for its boldness and originality. Thank you for watching this episode in our Rare Cars series. If you enjoyed this look into automotive history, please drop a like, share it with fellow car fans, and make sure to subscribe to Rare Cars Revival. Turn on the notification bell so you don't miss more deep dives into the world's most fascinating vehicles. Until next time, car enthusiasts,